Hello everyone, this is Saman Salim at SS Medics and today we will talk about post-operative fluid balance. It is an important topic for EMC clinical and also somewhat difficult topic. So let's start. Before diving into post-operative fluid balance, let's talk about fluid balance in a normal healthy individual. So a normal healthy person normally takes around 1.5 liters of liquids in a day, which is equivalent to his urine output, that is again 1.5 liters. Then approximately 1 to 1.2 liters is the water of food. What do I mean by water of food is that the solid food that we consume, it does contain small amount of the liquid in it as well. And also when that solid food gets metabolized in our body, it produces the water of metabolism. So that combined as the water of food, which we can also call as the insensible water intake, because we are not consciously taking water, we are eating some solid food and the water is a part of it, and then that solid food gets metabolized and water is produced. So that is what we call as the water of food or insensible water intake, which is around 1 to 1.2 liters. And this equates to the insensible losses of the water, which can be in the form of sweating, which can be from the breathing, and which can be along the feces as well. So that is around 1 to 1.2 liters. So in a normal healthy individual, in a day, total 2.5 to 3 liters per day is the normal water input or output. And this is what we call as the maintenance fluid, that a normal healthy individual needs this 2.5 to 3 liters per day in order for his body to metabolize well. If a person is not able to take anything by mouth, he is not able to ingest any liquids, he is not able to take any food, then we will need to give him these maintenance fluids via parenteral route. Along with this, I have written some electrolytes requirement as well. So the daily sodium requirement is 70 to 140 millimole per day, and daily potassium requirement is 35 to 70 millimoles per day. This will come handy in the next slides when we will discuss how do we give the fluids in a surgical patient, post-operative surgical patient. Now come on to the fluid dynamics in a surgical patient. So a surgical patient is normally made NPO before his surgery, which means that the input of the water is approximately zero, but the output of water is still there. He's still producing urine and he's still breathing, so some water is being lost. He's still sweating, some water is lost. He might be vomiting as well. He might be producing the nitrogenous waste as well. So the output of the water is still the same, which is around 2.5 to 3 liters, but input of water has now become zero in a surgical patient. Then some of the loss will occur during the surgery as well. Some bleeding will occur during the surgery, which will again lead to dehydration, causing the fluid deficit. Post-operatively also the fluids will be lost in drains or nasogastric tubes or in the vomitings, or if there is any fistula or any other drains. So these are what we call as the ongoing losses. And then in a surgical patient, we have to always remember that surgery is a major stress for the body. So stress hormones are released in the body, which can be catecholamines, ACTH, ADH, aldosterone. And what do these hormones do is that they cause retention of water in the body. So that is why we do not give full 3 liters of the maintenance fluid. We try to decrease it to around maybe 2.2 to 2.5 liters. So we give slightly less fluid than required or than calculated in order to not to cause any water intoxication. So these are the major dynamics which change between a normal healthy individual and a surgical patient. So how do we calculate the fluid requirement in a surgical patient? First of all, we have to see if there is any fluid deficit, which will be given as percentage of dehydration in the clinical scenarios. And if we are actually in a clinical setting, then we have to estimate that dehydration if it is mild, moderate, or severe. And by the parameters of dehydration, which can be dry mucosa, sunken eyes, skin turgor, loss of the skin turgor, and delayed capillary refill. These are some of the markers of dehydration with which we do estimate if dehydration is mild, moderate, or severe. Then comes the ongoing glosses. So the ongoing glosses will be, we add up all the loss which is in the nasogastric tube, drains, vomiting, urine. So these are all the ongoing glosses, and we should be replacing them with the same amount and type of the fluid which has been lost. Then comes the maintenance fluid, and these are only given if the patient is NPO. If the patient is not NPO, we do not need to give them the maintenance fluids. So let's move forward. How do we calculate these fluids? For the fluid deficit, which is basically the percentage of dehydration, we can easily calculate it by multiplying that percentage of dehydration, multiply by weight of that individual in kilogram, multiply by 10. So for example, if there was 5% of dehydration or in a 70 kg man, so we will get 5 multiply by 70 multiply by 10. That will be the fluid deficit in that individual which we have to replace in the next 24 hours. Now there is like if there is severe dehydration, what does that mean? For an adult, it would be up to 10% of the body weight, and for an infant, it would be up to 15% of the body weight. Loss of fluid, that will be up to 15%. So once we are done with the fluid deficits, next is the ongoing losses. For this, it is very easy to calculate. We simply add up all the fluids which have been lost in the vomiting, drains, urine output, or nasogastric tube. Add up all of those and replace them. And for the maintenance fluids, there is 4:2:1 formula, which I'll discuss in the next slide. I have also mentioned here the ideal fluid type, which is very important for the fluid deficit. Because if the person is dehydrated, we basically need to rehydrate or resuscitate them if it is moderate to severe dehydration. And the ideal fluid for resuscitation is isotonic saline or Ringer lactate. For the ongoing losses, I have written as isotonic saline with potassium chloride, but it is ideally the fluid which has been lost. So we see that what was the composition of the fluid which has been lost. If it was if it is mainly by the vomiting, which means that the patient is losing hydrogen ions and sodium and chloride. So 0.9% sodium chloride will be the ideal fluid. But if he is losing the fluid from his small bowel, which means that lots of bicarbonate ions are being lost, so we need to replace those ions as well. And for maintenance fluids, as the patient is NPO, so we give them the isotonic saline with 5% glucose in order for their blood sugar levels to be maintained. Now for the maintenance fluid, as I have told, there is 4:2:1 formula. What does it mean is that for the first 10 kg of the body weight, replace 4 ml per kg per hour, which is maximum 40 ml per hour. Or you can say that replace 100 ml per kg per day, which becomes 1 liter per day. For the next 10 kgs, if the body weight is between 10 to 20 kgs, replace 2 ml per kg per hour, which becomes 20 ml per hour, or you can say 500 ml per day. And for the next 40 kgs, it is 1 ml per kg per hour. This is what we call as the 4:2:1 formula. But the rule of the thumb for an adult is that you just take his weight in the kg. For example, if the weight is 70, then weight in kg plus 40. 70 plus 40, 110 ml per hour. You will be replacing that. And if you are calculating the fluid for the whole day, it will become 2640 ml per day. So around 2.5 liters of the fluid of the maintenance fluid will be given to that individual, and that fluid will be 0.9% sodium chloride with 5% dextrose water.